Welcome to Permission to Be Human, the podcast. I'm your host, Mel Finlater, mother, coach, and curator of Permission to Be Human, the company and community. If you're a mom, know a mom, or want to be a mom, and you crave getting out in the world to make a difference, then you're in the right place. This is a space for moms like you to connect with yourself, your purpose, and your big, audacious dreams. Because when you feel your best, you can better you, your family, and the wider world. Let's do this. Happy birthday to us. It is 1 year since this podcast, Permission to Be Human, the podcast, has come into fruition. That's not even counting the trailer that happened a little while before. I'm so excited that, one, I've made it this far. Being consistent every single week, an episode has come out Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. PST. And you know what? I'm so excited that people are listening because I really believe in this message that mothering is what's going to change the world. And you moms and you people mothering with big audacious dreams, we need to support you to be your best self, right? And to have those big dreams. So thank you so much for showing up and listening to this podcast. Whether you've listened since the beginning or this is your very first episode, I am so grateful and appreciative for you being here right now. We have some exciting stuff this week. Every single day, there'll be a podcast episode coming out at 7 a.m. PST. That's just a crazy amount of work, but it has been so worth it to bring this to you. At 10 a.m. PST each day, Sunday to Saturday from May 12th, we will be having a Facebook and Insta Live with really short episodes, but ones that are super tangible, where you have a tool to walk away with to help you get over overwhelm. Get over overwhelm. Because it's hard to dream big when you're still in survival mode. And let's face it, sometimes we're overwhelmed in this life that is mothering, right? So show up on those. And at the end of the week on Saturday, I am going to be giving away 2 pretty incredible prizes. I'm going to be giving 2 coaching packages for possibility coaching where you get to work with me one-to-one and look into what your big audacious dream is and how you can get there. I will support you, I will cheer you on, and I am so excited to do just that. So 2 packages are coming your way for those people who do the following. You need to like the Facebook page, Permission to Be Human. And if you're on Instagram, you need to get on there and follow us on Instagram, Permission to Be Human Coaching. And finally, to really support this podcast, please go on Spotify and rate us and follow us. That will also make sure we get in your list, so it shows you when a new episode comes up. And if you're on Apple, then you can go in there and rate and write us a review. That really helps me and the podcast to be seen by more people, so thank you. And yeah, I'm gonna, whoever does at least 2 of those things will be entered into a draw, and on Saturday I will find some magical online tool to pull it out of a hat and see who wins those 2 coaching packages. I'm going to add another one on, and I'm literally just thinking of it right now, which is I have a beautiful bookshelf behind me. If you're just listening to audio, you can't see it, but it is lovely and color-coded and gets commented on a lot. And I'm going to let you pick your favorite book off my bookshelf and send it to you in the mail. So that's pretty awesome. These books are full of like science-backed tool, positive psychology, inspiration, parenting, strength-based models. There's so much good stuff up there. So I'm going to send you a book that will be a third prize. So hooray, hooray. It's 1 year. Enjoy the podcast for today, and we'll see you soon. All right. We have Jenn Bolduc today, an old friend from high school, I suppose, days here for a little bit of a different play on the podcast this week because it is the 1 year anniversary. So I asked Jenn to come on and kind of reminisce a little bit with me and share with people what our memories of me and us are from when we were kids and what that looked like, and see where that goes. I was just saying to you, Jenn, I don't talk about myself a lot on this podcast, so this week is an interesting experience to just share some of those things that people will have no clue that that's been part of my life. So thanks for agreeing to come and explore our memories and how good or not so good they worked together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, how do I know you? You said from school, but then I was like, did we know each other from softball in elementary school, like before we actually went to school together? I don't know.
Maybe. That's very possible because I
Yeah.
remember I did do softball. I'm just starting it up again. I was just telling you that. So yeah, maybe we did know each other through that first, then school and soccer alongside.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe say a little bit more about that. Like, so how do we know each other in your eyes? What do you remember?
Yeah, I don't know. I mostly remember probably from high school soccer at first, especially since we were both grade nines playing on the senior team. But then like I don't know if I was with the French immersion kids right away. I mean, we definitely would have had overlap with sports for sure because we were both in that world.
Hmm. Yeah, one thing I do think like our crossovers were definitely in sports. So I was one of those kids that I was at school from like 7 a.m. until sometimes 6, 7 p.m. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think you
Or
were in there
longer.
sometimes. Yeah, like it really
Yeah.
was my life. I don't think I could ever really get into trouble because I was doing so many extracurricular activities from music in the morning, usually through to our
Yeah.
sports in the afternoon.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for a while there, we even had practices under the lights from like 8 till 10 at night or something, or 6 till
For the
8. I remember
community team. Yeah.
it overlapped with Survivor. So we couldn't watch it. Like grade 10,
Survivor.
yeah, grade 10, 11, 12. I remember I had to miss it because we were always at soccer practice late.
Yeah. Yeah. So we played for the school team, the high school team. Like you said, we were the young ones on the team playing up with the 11s and grade 11s and 12s,
Yeah.
which was, quite the experience, I think. It was actually one of my favorite soccer experiences was doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, we went to provincials that year, so that was a cool thing too. SFU,
Except for
Salt Lake.
the last game. Yeah. So where were we? Where did we go?
Where we placed third.
Yeah, do you remember where it was? It was on the
Burnaby.
mainland somewhere?
Burnaby. We stayed at
Okay.
SFU. So I thought, oh, I'm a big kid now. I'm staying in dorms at UBC. Actually, they were like
Yes.
townhouses. Remember? They were townhouses.
Yeah. So I'm
Mhm.
on Vancouver Island now. You're on the mainland, the kind of BC mainland. And that's
Mhm.
where we grew up was mm, you're more interior now, but I was, we were in the Vancouver type area for those that don't know it around here. And yeah, we went to SFU, which is Simon Fraser University, and did that tournament with the high school team. And I remember Randy Hermes was on the team and
Yeah.
she's, went on to play for the Canada team. And it was such an amazing experience too. Yeah, I felt really old and
Mhm.
important and
Yeah.
in some ways very young and not important all at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, totally. So soccer was a big part of, well, our joint life and definitely for me, a huge part. I don't know what age you started. I started when I was 4 and
Mm.
really only stopped a few times as an adult when I was injured slash pregnant. Mm.
Yeah. I started at 10, so a little bit later, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. But it said it's It was like it's interesting. I feel like that sport part of my life through softball, through soccer and some of the other sports that we played in high school, like basketball and volleyball, and those were I believe they made me who I am. Like they were a big part of it because I spent so much time doing sports and learning to
Yeah.
like be part of a team and
Hmm.
that you show up to this no matter what. I remember a conversation with my dad when I was in trouble about something or other. And and I always knew that like I would never be grounded from going to a sport because that's not fair to the team,
Yeah.
right? And that stuck in my head, right?
Yes, absolutely. Can
Yeah.
completely relate to that. Yeah. I- Yeah. Yeah, it was such a big part of both of our lives in high school. It kept us out of trouble for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I was thinking about that though. Like a memory that came back to me was a good memory that I have, or kind of a fun memory, was when we were at nationals and we snuck out to those Quebec boys' room. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, vaguely.
Yeah, and they might have had some beverages in there. I didn't take any of them because I was a good girl, except for
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, except for when it came to the boys, and I was like happy to sneak out to see boys. But
So that was like grade 12, I think, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, we were pretty old by then. And that's when our community team, which humorously was called the Dream Team. I
yeah,
still like shy away when I say those
yeah.
words. But we were quite good and we made it, yeah, through the provincials, won that and went to the nationals in Newfoundland, which was such a cool experience. I really want to go back there. That was a
Mhm.
really neat place.
Yeah,
And I remember the accents being very difficult to understand sometimes.
yeah,
And yes, being a bit cheeky sometimes with the girls, but that's the joy of grade 12, right? But then again,
yeah,
you and I
yeah.
were, let's be honest, we're kind of the goody two-shoe good girls of of the whole crew.
I think like that's one thing you and I had in common. We kind of stayed out of the drama,
Yeah.
or we took the neutral ground. Like I know when our team had some division going on, like both of us tried to find like this kind of neutral path through,
Yeah.
which I found like people don't want you to stay there. They want you to like commit to one side or the other, which is,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe a bit of an analogy towards the way society is right now. They want you to commit to far left or far right. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable finding like what works for the good of all. And I think you were very much that way too in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right. We did relate on that one, and I still kind of lean that way. I'm always like, how can we just make as many people happy as possible? And
Yeah.
like, am the kind of peacekeeper of, that was my role in my family, still is.
Yeah.
That's my role in society that I seem to step into. And,
Mhm.
it comes with some amazing benefits and some big challenges as well, because it's very easy to step into the like savior role of
Yeah.
that, which isn't always particularly helpful for
Hmm.
me, anyways.
No,
Um,
absolutely. It's kind of, yeah, a bit bittersweet sometimes. I think you were much better at being kind of a relentless optimist than I was, or at least you pretended to be. I don't know. I was like Mel is gonna
Interesting.
find the positive in this situation and find out a hopeful way through it. And I think sometimes I wasn't as good at that as you were, but that's okay. We all have our things. Maybe you're just better at faking it than I was. I don't know.
Maybe. So I kind of, so my memory of myself as being younger was that yeah, I didn't want to get into the drama, as you say. I was pretty shy. And even still now, I'm not the one that's out there talking to every person in a crowd. Large crowds make me nervous, in fact,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
did then and still do now. And yeah, it's a funny thing to say to people on a podcast that I don't even know like necessarily who's going to listen to this, that I consider myself shy, or at least I did consider myself shy. But that is the case. That is definitely a huge part of my personality, that I'm a watcher. I watch and see how it goes and then step in when I feel like, the appropriate moment is there.
Yeah. I would push back against it a little bit. I found you quite like sociable and congenial.
Interesting. Isn't it
Yeah.
funny how we have these views of ourself and memories of ourself as a kid? I don't remember I don't remember having a lot of friends in high school or elementary school. I remember at least not a lot of close friends. I was
Mhm.
known by everybody because I was in
Yeah.
all these different activities and stuff.
Mhm.
And yet maybe there's just I always craved a depth that I didn't always get, and me and I always felt like I was a 40-year-old in like a 16-year-old body when I was in high school. I wanted to go talk about, I don't know, big world things.
Yeah. A little bit, right? A little bit of an old soul. I think maybe that's why you and Sarah and I bonded because we're kind of all a little bit ahead of our time
Yeah,
for
yeah,
various
totally.
reasons.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
Okay,
think
so cool. So we know how we know each other. We chatted a little bit about our sports, and what would you say? What's a memory that comes up for you of like a favorite memory of that time?
yeah. I don't know, there's so many. I mean, I that when we went camping that one time, I don't know why that memory always sticks with me, but it was such a miserable camping trip, but we had such a fun
Oh, it
time
was pouring rain.
in Alouette Lake there.
Yeah.
Was I mean, I guess that's after high school, just after high school though. So it was really when we were just like we are out in the adult world. Like,
Yes.
we can't
Before
we
university,
can't
right?
hide behind our
Yeah.
sports anymore. Can't hide behind our families. Like this is us. And it was just like, yeah, a little bit of survival of the fittest there, but
Well, it
that's
was
a good memory.
I'm pretty sure, like, the tent flooded, if I recall.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, we were
massive tent that we
soaked.
were sleeping in of my parents, totally flooded. We slept in the vehicle, at least some of us did, I think. But do you know what mostly I remember about that time? Because we were, like, the good girls, that was one of the times, like, we, like, did something wrong because we
Yeah.
had brought some alcohol, and it was like and you weren't allowed to have it on site for some reason. It was, like, one of the rules of
Yeah.
the campsite. So they had to, like, watch us drive it to someone's car that was parked, like, out at the beginning, so that we it
Mhm.
was really interesting, so but that's just not we weren't the people that would normally get caught for some or even be
No.
doing
I think
we were
we were
being
all
totally
legal age for
reasonable about it, I
drinking.
have to say. It
Yeah.
just felt like we were being, like, slightly bending rules.
Yeah. Yeah, like a moderate rebellion. I think we were all legal age for drinking at the time
I
though.
feel like we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
But
was
it was
just a
something
rule of
about it
the,
being in the campground.
yeah.
And we were like the only people there. There was us and there was that older couple that saved us with their wood. But it's
Yeah,
like,
yes. But I think, and I used to get really frustrated at this. It's the way that culture views people of that age, the teenagers slash late teenager, early 20s is that they're irresponsible and they make bad choices and all these
mm,
things. And we were just gonna go and maybe have one or two drinks around a fire in the pouring rain
yeah.
and hope we
Yeah.
survived. Really?
But it's like true West Coast form, right? Like
Oh, yes.
just you're gonna get soaked on the North Coast there, but just
Yeah. It is
like I don't know.
gorgeous
There's
over
so
here if
many.
nobody's ever been, and it is very wet. When it is
Yeah.
wet, it is wet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
You
sure.
get mildly hypothermic, I think. So, but yeah, I mean, so many of our memories though, like were with sports trips and stuff like that, right? So I was trying to think of like what's one that we had that was not sports related. It was just like we just enjoyed each other as human beings. Yeah, and just getting out there, going on an
Mm,
adventure without our
yeah,
parents planning it, and yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, no,
It
that's
seemed like
awesome,
a
thanks.
transitional event, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I think that's right, it was a transition into adulthood, right? Really, because we didn't see each other for a while after that, I
no,
would say,
no,
you
we had
know?
a lot of years away from each other,
Yeah,
so
we went on to
yeah.
university. Yeah, and you're one of the only friends that I've really stayed properly connected with from that kind of stage of my life, I would say.
Mhm.
There's ones through Facebook you kind of are able to stay a little bit connected, but it's lovely that we can chat more now, even with
Yeah.
little gaps in between. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm more the, like, I'll prod people through Messenger, just, like, that little more personal touch than just the Facebook post. I've kinda stayed out of
totally.
the
Yeah.
social media world largely,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
um,
Okay, so what about a funny moment?
a
Or maybe
funny
that was your
moment.
funny moment.
I don't know, I was thinking, like, there was probably a moment where we were both boogie boarding in Hawaii and our tops came off, no doubt.
We
Like
probably were, yeah. So we went to
yeah,
Hawaii in grade, what, 11? I wanna say?
Grade
Maybe
12
grade,
also.
it was grade 12 as well. Gosh, we had a busy
Yeah,
year.
spring is grade
Um,
12. Grade 12 year was a pretty good year for us.
it was an awesome year. We were so lucky that one of our teachers, who was also the volleyball coach, was like, let's all go to Hawaii and go in this tournament. I think we played like 3 games the whole time we were there. We got
Yeah,
creamed because they're very
yeah,
good at volleyball in
yeah.
Hawaii. But we got to go
Mhm.
there, and that was, yeah, that was a real, I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
It was a, there's lots of memories there. There's lots of like growing up. Like I felt like
yeah.
we were given a lot of independence and trust
That's
for
absolutely.
sometimes for one of the first times actually. So
Yeah,
that was really, really
yeah. We had
nice.
so much independence there, like
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
freedom.
Hmm. Yeah, we were trusted,
Yeah,
and and you know what, we were all really good about that, and we were trusted to go out and behave ourselves essentially. And then
yeah,
that's where I had like the dream date ask out, I guess.
yeah.
A proposal, but not for marriage. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. With Greg.
Yeah, which was like one of my main memories. My husband's now was like, "Oh God, I'm never gonna live up to that." I was like, "No, you
No,
won't."
no. It
And
was pretty
honestly, now
fun.
I'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I'd be think it was really cheesy, but basically, he went and like wrote it in the sand. Will you go out with me when I was? And then I walked up and saw it. I think halfway through actually I'm writing it, but it was
Yeah,
very sweet.
yeah,
Yeah, my
yeah.
first
We
kind
did
of
some funny
long
things
term.
there. Like,
Yeah, it was
well,
good.
the karaoke. I'm just looking at
Yeah, we did go to
the
karaoke.
scrapbook
We tried to
here.
get into a bar, but it was like one of those ones that you were allowed into if you were a
Yeah,
certain age. Like,
18, I think, or something.
yeah, and you just got a stamp saying you couldn't drink.
Yeah,
But some of us weren't 18, so we couldn't get in. But yeah,
yeah.
that was
I
fun.
was not. I was not 18. I was one of the young ones.
You were the youngin'. Yeah. Okay, so what do you think? What's something that you think others might not know about me?
Oh, but others. You can sing. I don't know. Maybe people know that, but like,
No, I don't
I
talk
think
about
like
that.
for someone who's shy, like you sang at our grad, which is
I
like
did.
super brave. I like can't imagine doing that ever myself. So I thought, I don't know. Maybe people
I
don't know
did.
about you. That's a
Yeah,
part of you that you kind of hide. You were in choir, were you not?
I was in choir and jazz
Yeah.
choir in
Yeah.
high school, and I even actually won I don't know what it was called, some award, music award at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think you underestimate your musical abilities sometimes, or you
I really, and you know what? I love singing, and I've
underrepresented,
always been
maybe.
thinking of ways to get back into that. I really do love it. I remember singing at the summer camp I went to when I was like 16. And everybody's like, whoa, because it doesn't really, you just surprised because it's not the type of thing, like, I don't talk about that. I don't just sing while I
Yeah.
walk around or anything, right?
No, you're much more
Uh,
reserved about that, right? You'll talk freely about your sports, but the
mm-hmm.
musical side of you, right, that you're quite skilled at as well. Uh, you don't talk about as much. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
really don't, but thank you for that. But who knows, one day, I've been looking at community choirs around here to go with my daughter. There's one, if we could find the right time for it to be
Right.
where you can go together and it's not like you just enjoy it, basically.
Yeah.
Just go
I
and
do think
enjoy
I
the,
think like there's this creative, expressive side of you that yeah, it's
yeah.
there, wants to be unleashed. I don't know. Or reconnected with, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think there is that. You know, I used to sing, I did reconnect a little bit when my first kid was born, because I used to sing her to sleep like every single night. And then the second one came and I was just too tired. I don't think I
Yeah.
sang to him quite as
Yes.
much. There's one
Yeah.
song that we did every once in a while, but so, yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. I don't know.
Awesome. Okay, so is there any questions you want to ask me or things that you think I should talk about or tell people about?
Yeah, I think like if you could go back to that younger self of yours in high school, I don't know which age you'd prefer. Like, what would you say to 14-year-old Mel?
Hmm. I think that's a really good question. And I don't even know what the answer is, but I think just like the word compassion comes to mind, like
Mhm.
self-compassion, like, yes, I did all of these things and I was pretty good at them. And I didn't have a lot of self-confidence in other ways,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And that's the part that I remember most now, right? Because we have,
Mm.
negativity bias.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I would tell myself that it's okay that you don't have to have 60, 20, 10 friends that you know really closely and you call up all the time. It's okay to just have that one or two that you enjoy the company of,
Mm.
and that's totally normal. I watch my
Mhm.
daughter now and that's the type of person she is. She doesn't want
Uh,
10 friends. She wants like one or two.
I know,
Actually,
right?
that's great. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I just tell myself that like that's totally normal. It's fine. Just go with that flow and
Mhm.
don't worry about having to know what you want to be when you grow up. That's the other
Mhm.
thing I would say. Right?
Yeah.
Like I remember
What did you
stressing
wanna
so
be?
much. What did you
I
say?
don't even know. I don't know if you even, like, told me ever what you wanted to be when you were in high school. Like, when
I
you were in
had
high
no
school,
idea
what
what
was
I
your
wanted to
plan?
be, but I knew
Yeah.
that because we had to explore like especially so I was in French immersion. So
Mhm.
half my classes or so were in French and I had to choose very wisely what my like I forget what they called them. There were certain classes you had to take, your
Yeah.
electives. So my electives, I
Electives.
had to
Yeah.
choose very wisely because I didn't get very many because of the French.
Yeah.
Um, so we were always thinking of what do you want to do in university? Where do you want to go to university? What do you want to learn? And it was more
Mhm.
those questions, I suppose, less
Yeah.
like knowing exactly what job you wanted. And I was always like, I had no clue. I had no clue. I was like, well, I'm
Yeah.
interested in people. So like psychology is the one that came to my mind.
Mm.
Which then I had to take math for and then or math 12 and I quit math 12 twice, I think, because we kept going away
Oh,
for sports and
oh, yeah.
come back and they'd be so far ahead. And then I asked the
Yeah.
teacher once, I said, well, why do I need to learn this? It was some quite advanced math.
Yeah.
And he couldn't
For
give me a
calc.
good answer. So I was like, well, then I'm not doing it. Like I wanted a practical reason why I needed to learn
Yeah.
this silly calculation. And
Yeah.
my husband would now have a very strong debate with me about what that answer is, because there is one.
Mhm.
But at that point in time, I was very much like, and I still am this why person. Like, you got to tell me
Mm.
why I'm doing this. I'm not going to do it just because you tell me to.
Yeah.
Or one of my French teachers, because you weren't in the French, so that part of me you
Yeah.
don't know as well. But one of my French
Yeah.
teachers, she said, "You and your," because I have brother and sister who were also in her class.
Yeah.
Um, and
This is
she said,
always
"You
like
and
a
your
yeah.
family, you're always the same." I was like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
"Tu es têtu." And I was like,
Yeah.
"What does that mean?" Because I had no
Yeah.
idea. She's like, "You're stubborn." I was like, "Yeah, I'll
Uh,
give you that. Yeah, I am
yeah.
stubborn." But she said it like it was a bad thing, and that stuck in
Yeah.
my head since.
Oh,
And
okay.
I am stubborn, and now I'm like, I own that. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what gets me
Yep.
finish things. That's what gets me to start things. That's what gets me to challenge the way that the world is and shouldn't stay in some ways.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. I don't know, are we talking about your years as a mother on here too? Because that's, like, another
Sure.
chapter of like, we share that together now. It's such a,
Yeah.
like, weird way to come back together over, right? That we have especially, like, we both have daughters. I know
Yeah.
you have a son too, but, like, this is such a different way to know each other after having known, like, our youthful selves. So,
Mm.
um, I do wonder, like, what's your favorite part about being a mother these days?
Oh, good question. The thing that's coming to my mind is like kind of the double-edged sword thing. So it's both the like hardest as well as the favorite part. So it's seeing both my kids try something new that is scary to them. And there's lots of behaviors around that. That's where the challenge comes in.
Mm.
And then like we went rock climbing to a rock climbing class today for the first time with them.
Oh, good.
And they were
Yeah.
so worried. And then, I walked in, I stayed for the first half and then I left. And then I walked
Yeah.
in at the end and my littlest is up at the top of the wall.
Yeah.
Just like, and he was so proud. I could see him looking back at the teacher, like making sure he's watching him, and he was
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah,
proud of him and
yeah.
himself. And, so I think like one of the best parts of motherhood is watching your kids stretch those boundaries and
Mhm,
realize like that they can do something that they didn't think they could before that. I
mhm.
think that's really powerful. And then the other thing I'd say is like watching when they get along. You feel
Yeah,
like you're doing it right in those few
yeah,
seconds of a
the
moment
the
that they
magic
get
moments. Yes,
along.
there's a lot of space for, sibling rivalry in my home, so yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you've got 4 kids, so, like,
Yeah,
that's that's a whole nother level. I can't honestly
yeah.
imagine.
Then you
Uh,
throw in the international students, and it just, like, really mixes things up, so
yes. Yeah, totally.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of arguments, but what I love about it is those moments when they're just playing so peacefully together and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's why I had
Mm,
to." Like they're
yes.
just and they're looking out for each other, in those scary
Mhm,
moments, like they're
mhm.
really like holding each other hand or making sure the other one's got it or yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, yeah. The beautiful moments, those ones. Just
Yeah.
yeah, really cool. What's the hardest part about being a mother for you? I think everybody's answer would be different to this,
I
right?
think
But
everybody's is a little different. Mine, I've done a lot of reflection and therapy on,
oh,
and I still need a lot more.
I was gonna say the
Right?
therapy doesn't really
It's one
end.
of those, like,
It's
I know it.
yeah,
But it is I think kids, they know how to trigger you in ways that nobody else would ever
absolutely.
know how or dare to,
Yeah.
and my biggest trigger is that I can't help everybody, right?
Mm,
I wanna help everybody, I wanna meet everybody's needs at the same time,
mhm.
and you can't do that. It's impossible. When there's this, with one kid, it's very, very difficult to meet their needs, your needs, whoever's around you's needs. And then you add another kid in, and it's literally impossible. It's like, especially if,
Yeah.
the needs are very different. And
Mhm.
I really struggle with that. And now that I see the importance of meeting my own needs, it's actually making that trigger more difficult because I'm like, I got to
Oh,
meet my own needs now.
okay.
Go away.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I'm not as willing to like let those ones go. And
Mhm.
that can be really challenging, right?
Yeah.
So I think just like in each moment deciding and prioritizing whose needs are first is really,
Mhm.
really difficult and one
Mhm.
that like gets me every single time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's ongoing. It's an ongoing struggle. Like, just
Yeah, and I think it's gonna
I
be a
don't know.
lifelong one. Even before kids, that's what we were doing. And as
Yeah.
as this, there's a lot of cultural norms at play there. There's a lot of learning that I've had to be this people pleaser, this, person who like makes sure everybody's good. That's my like life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I've grown into be,
I
right?
always wonder, like, are there different strategies that you've kind of adopted to prevent yourself from getting lost in all that? I know, like, as a mother, I sometimes like get lost in all of the
Mm,
busyness of my kids' lives. That like it's good busyness, but I don't know. Sometimes it leaves me feeling a bit lost. I wonder if you ever have that same feeling.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think we all do. And sometimes we get it right. We try a strategy and it works, and sometimes the exact same strategy doesn't work.
Mm,
There's lots of my own, this week when this podcast is coming out, there's each of the Facebook and Instagram lives are about overwhelm and a tool we can use towards to get ourselves out of overwhelm and like reconnected so our thinking brain works again, essentially.
mm,
And all of those tools are wonderful and they won't work every single time.
yeah.
Right?
Well said. Yes.
One, it's
Absolutely.
practice, and
Yeah.
two, like each moment requires a slightly different thing. and meet
Mhm.
each need. You know, I just came in from with the kids this morning and like was super grumpy with my partner and he's just like, "Oh, okay." Like, you know, just saw you. And then I messaged him after like 5 minutes of like shoving my face with food. I was like, "I'm sorry. I was hungry. I needed food and I needed
Yes,
food right
yes,
now." Um, you know, so like your
absolutely.
needs are different in those different moments. I can if I just try to ground my feet, like one of my
Mhm,
favorite ones is feeling grounded, connect with your feet. What are they
mhm,
doing on the ground? Wiggle your toes.
mhm.
That is not gonna work when I'm hungry.
Yeah,
I gotta get food in my mouth first and then
yes.
do that. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like I think we do all feel lost within figuring out whose needs and when and taking our kids to this sport and that sport and deciding when what's too much and they'll love this, but should I actually sign them up? And you know,
Yeah.
all those
Oh.
decisions that we have to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a hard one, especially when it's something they love,
Hmm.
and it's just but they if they love so many things, then at some
Yeah.
point you have to say no, and then it's like, am I quashing something that's gonna be a part of them? But it's, like, also
Yeah.
practical.
Yeah. Well, and in our life, so we made a really intentional shift in the last year of our life. So we changed schools and in making that decision, we came to the conclusion that our family wanted to slow down, right?
Mhm,
We wanted the life to feel slower. It felt too busy, it felt too fast, it felt like we weren't connecting because of that. And so I try to remember each of those decisions, but it's not easy, right? Like, so we're like, okay, you're each allowed to choose two extracurricular things. That's it. Two at one time. Otherwise, you wait till that one's done until you do that. But some of
yeah.
them, like dance goes all year, right? Like
Yes,
September to
yeah.
June,
Oh,
all school
so
year. So, like, that's one for the whole time. So if you choose the other, like, it's really difficult. And in the end, they often end up doing three because I just give
I
in because I'm like, yeah, as long as the other ones are short ones,
yeah,
so we can just stop if we needed to. But yeah, it's that constant debate.
yeah.
What do you do? You mean you got 4 kids? How do you work out the who gets to do what? I can't even imagine.
I just pretty much say yes as long as it doesn't conflict with anyone's schedules, and I intentionally bought my house, so it's very, very central. So
Mm,
we are within carpool range for a lot of people and walking distance to both their schools, and I'm
yeah,
very thankful that we live right in the heart of everything because I couldn't do it otherwise as a single parent, like, it'd just be
yeah,
impossible,
yeah,
so yeah. So they're
yeah.
in a lot of things, but generally they just seem to gravitate towards a couple things that they really love, and then
Hmm. Yeah. And you know, the phrase like going back to the question you asked me and what's coming up for me while I listen to you is that concept of asking for help. Right? Like
oh,
it's so hard and it's so
all the time.
important. Like
Yes.
that's the strategy that we have. That's the strategy that we need,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That especially, I mean, like you said, right? When you have that kind of savior complex, right? Like of me being a firstborn with three younger siblings, the same thing. I was like, oh, I'm so happy to help people. But now, like, for the first time in my life, I have to ask for help all the time. And it's, I don't know, you kind of have to wrestle with yourself about what kind of biases you've had towards people who need help.
Yeah.
And it's a tough thing to work through, but is so much better when you surround yourself with other people to help out with your kids. Like, especially
Hmm.
good people, right? Like good people that are gonna send your kids the same messages that you want them to hear, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just that will build them up as humans. I think the point I'm at now is just like the more good people surround my kids, the better. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. I feel like we could have a whole episode where you and I just talk about asking for help. So I'm gonna like put that little idea in my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's a
Yeah.
topic that means a lot to me. And I have done an episode with me just talking, but I think a conversation about that and like, you know, the practicalities of that and the, like you say, the influences that uh, are stories that we tell ourselves about it that sometimes are not particularly helpful in the moment and how to overcome that. So
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I would push back against this narrative right now where people want to like move out to the woods and live off of the land. And it's almost
mm,
like it's an isolationist look at the world as if like we're supposed to sustain ourselves independently. And I don't think that is actually the case. I think if
yeah,
from all of human history, we've always needed other human beings,
yeah,
whether we like to admit it or not. Like,
yeah. Yes. Okay, so on that note, I needed you to come here and ask me these questions so I wasn't quite so awkward talking about myself.
yeah, no, you did great. Good for your listeners to know who you are.
So thank you for doing
You're a cool
that.
person. Yeah. I always thought you were so much cooler than me. So
I
like
would say the
no
same
one
for
can
you,
tell
so there you go.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank
um,
you so much, Jen.
yeah, no problem.
This is the 1 year anniversary week if you are listening to this between May 12th and May 18th. So please don't forget that we have a draw coming up. And in order to get your name put in that, you can, well, we need you to like the Facebook page, Permission to Be Human Co. Follow us on Instagram, Permission to Be Human Coaching, and either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, rate and review the show. This helps me so, so much. It helps all of us to get these words out there, get them into the world, and helping more moms to go out and achieve their dreams. So please do that. And to reward you for that, you will be put into the draw for I'm giving away 2 different packages of coaching with me, some possibility coaching, totally free that you can win, as well as someone will win a book of their choice off of my very colorful and very full of good and useful information bookshelf. Stick around, check us out at 10 a.m. PST on those channels, Facebook and Instagram, for our lives where we're going to do some really tangible tools that you can use to get out of overwhelm because, well, we can't dream when we're in overwhelm. That is it, folks. This has been Mel Finlater on Permission to Be Human, the podcast, and I am so glad that you have joined us here today and hope that you have taken away some tidbits that will help you go away, connect with your big, audacious dream, and make that massive impact in the world that you are dying to make. If you liked today's episode, please, please, please like it, share it. Think of one person. Think of one person that you think would also like it and send it on over to them. Let's get this out there and more moms feeling like themselves, inspired, dreaming big, and out there being them. Please do head on over to find me on Facebook with Permission to Be Human, or Instagram, or you can even pop me an email and say hello at permissiontobehumanalways@gmail.com. Say hello and let me know that you listened. What did you like about it? I would love to hear. If you didn't like it, I don't really want to know. Just kidding. You can share that if you want. I would love to know, however, who you are. Let's connect. Let's find out what you want more of. I want to hear from you, and I want to make it what would be useful to you. As always, remember that you have permission to dream big, permission to feel big, and permission to be you. You have complete and full permission to be human. For real, you do. So, thanks for listening.